As we move into session 6.3, which is our custom form in form view session here in tutorial 6, I just wanted you to see what changes we're going to be making for the end of our project here in tutorial 6. You'll see that we have combo box added up here in our header group. We've also got some color changes that have been applied. And down here at the bottom, you will see that we also have some different controls that have been added, especially these calculated controls that we will be creating during this session, session 6.3. So let's go ahead and look at our instructions and get started. And we'll start building our changes into our custom form here and working with our sum function and count function and another combo box, the design changes. So let's go ahead and look at the instructions on our eText. And in the first portion here, we are going to go ahead and add a combo box to find records in the form. Most combo boxes, as you know, are used to display and update our data. You can also use combo boxes to find records, which is what we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and add a combo box to the form header section, which is where our title is, to find a specific record in the visit table to display in our form. Here are the steps we're going to use to complete those. Now that you've seen the steps, let's go ahead and work with them now in our clinic database. Okay, with our clinic database open, we have our visits and invoice form open in design view. We've made sure our navigation is closed. Now we want to click the form selector to select the form. And the form selector, you'll know, is selected when it changes from an empty box to a box with a dark square in it. So let's go up here to our form selector area, and you can see that it's clear right now. Go ahead and click that. Now we have a colored box in there. And when we see there, we know now that our form has been selected. So now we're going to click on the Design tab, and in our Tools group, we're going to click the Property Sheet. And now we see all the properties of our form displayed here in our Property Sheet. Okay, I'm going to widen our Property Sheet pane here a little bit so we can see more of our data. And as we mentioned before, our record source is currently built on a SQL select statement, which is just code that references a table. We're going to change the record source property to a table or query or the combo box, which will not present you with an option to find records in a form. We're going to change the record source property to the visit table because this table is the record source for all the bound controls that we added in our detail section. So let's go ahead and click the Alt tab if you don't already have it open there. Then we're going to click the record resource box that you see here. Then we're going to click the arrow and we're going to select our visit table. Now we've got that selected, let's go ahead and close our property sheet. Once we've got that closed, we're going to go ahead and use a combo box wizard to add a combo box to the form header section, which is going to enable us to find a record in the visit table to display in our custom form. So let's go to the Design tab now in our Controls group. And from our Controls group, we're going to make sure that our User Controls Wizard is selected. And then we're going to click our combo box, which we know it should be okay because we've used it before. Let's go ahead and click More. It's highlighted. There is our combo box. Go ahead and select that. And you can see we are bringing our combo box down here to be able to use. So we're going to go into the form header section now. And we're going to go to about the 5-inch mark here on our vertical ruler there. I'm sorry, horizontal ruler. We're going to go ahead and click our mouse. Now you see we have our first Combo Box Wizard dialog box that's been opened up. And in our combo box, this time we have a third option that's available, which is find a record on my form based on the value I selected in my combo box, which we didn't see that previously. Let's go ahead and make that choice there. Click the next button. Our next combo box dialog box here is we're going to go ahead and double click on Visit ID to move that to our selected field. That's the only one we want to select, so let's go ahead and click Next. And once again, you can scroll down through this to look through it, but let's go ahead and just to make it our best fit, I'm going to double click it there. Now let's go ahead and click the Next once we've resized our column. We're going to go ahead and specify the name for our combo box label. So we're going to go ahead and name that Select Visit. Once you've got that typed in, go ahead and click Finish. And the completed unbound combo box is now displayed in our form as we expected. As you can see, it doesn't look real good where it's placed, so we're going to go ahead and select our Select Visit label. Let's go ahead and grab the move handle, and we're going to drag our label to the right until its edge is 2 grid dots to the left of the combo box. So we'll grab our label, and we're going to move that to within 2 grid dots. Okay, it looks good. Let's go ahead and align these by selecting them. And go ahead and right click one of the controls. Let's go ahead and go down to Align. And we're going to select Bottom, so the bottom edges will align. And if you didn't already, go ahead and select the title as well. And then we'll align all 3 of those together. Bottom. And you can see that now the bottom edge of all 3 of these have been aligned. Because we've made all these changes, let's go ahead and save this, even though it's not really until the next section where it tells us to save it once we are going to find our contract records using this combo box. But I'm just going to go ahead and save it now. And we'll move on to the next section here, which is to find those contract records using our combo box. Let's go ahead and switch to Form View. Now that we're in Form View, let's go ahead and click the Select Visit Combo. And once we select that combo box, you'll see that we now have all these options here in our list box. Let's just scroll down the list until we find record 1557. And we're going to go ahead and select that. And you'll see now that we have selected our visit ID of 1557, and now we are on record 16 of 86. And then once you've put your name in, that number may vary, but at least you can see that here in our navigational controls we have changed records based on the combo box we just created. Now we're going to go into adding a subform to our form so that we can then work on putting our calculated controls to be displayed in our subform. So let's go ahead and look at those steps now. As you can see here, our steps to add the subform to our form. Then once we've created that, we're going to go ahead and use the Subform Wizard to configure our subform. Let's go ahead and jump into our database, and we'll complete those steps now in adding our subform. go ahead and switch to Design View here. We're going to go down to the bottom edge of our details section here, and we are going to drag the bottom edge here down to where it's about the 5-inch mark on the vertical ruler. See, we're almost there. Okay, there we go. Now that we've expanded our details section here, let's go up to the Design tab, and we're going to go to the Controls group. From the Controls group, we're going to click the More button, and we are going to select our Subform Subreport tool. Go ahead and select that now. Once we have that selected, we're going to position our crosshairs portion of the pointer into the detail section here at about the 2.5-inch mark on the vertical ruler and 1-inch mark on the horizontal ruler. So that should be about right here. Give or take a few dots there. We'll go ahead and click there to create our Subform Wizard. Okay, go ahead and make sure you have the Use Existing Tables and Queries selected there. From there, we're going to make sure we use our billing table. So go ahead and hit Next. Then we are going to make sure that we have our billing table selected from our available tables. Let's go ahead and hit the All button here to select all of our available fields. Let's take away our visit ID. Select it, send it back over. Go ahead and click the Next button now. Make sure that you've got the Choose from a List selected there. Let's go ahead and click Next. And we're going to give our form the name Billing Subform. And this isn't exactly right because we want our S to be capitalized. So now we have our form, Billing Subform, as our name. Once you have that, go ahead and click Finish. And then Access will increase the height and width of the subform in the form. The subform will display the related table billing records. Its label appears above the subform and displays the subform name. Deselect all of your controls by just clicking anywhere outside of that. Once you've done that, let's go ahead and switch to our form view. And you can see that our subform has been created here. And we can once again use our Select Visits combo box and scroll down to Switch Records. And you can see that the subform changes with that. Let's go back and just go ahead and make 1557 our default again. Now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and, since we've created our subform, let's go ahead and modify the subform's design a little bit, and we'll go ahead and switch to Design View to do that. Let's go ahead and take a look at those steps before we jump in and do it. Here in our eText, you'll see that we have the 7 steps here listed for modifying our subform view. So let's go back into our subform and switch that to Design View. Go ahead, close our navigation pane there. Switch to Design View. Scroll down a little bit here. Now you'll notice the difference here in our design view that the form doesn't look exactly like it does when we're in our layout view or our form view. Don't worry about it. It's not really that big a deal. You'll just notice that our boxes are listed like this, where when we're in design view or form view or layout view, they run in this direction. Not a big deal. Just wanted to point that out to you. Let's go ahead and delete this title box here, our subform label. So you can go ahead and right click on that and just click cut. Now we're going to move our subform by aligning it with our comments label. Let's go ahead and click the edge of the subform to select it, which will create that orange border. And then we're going to hold down the shift key and we're going to click the comments label. So let's go ahead and do that now. Hold the shift key, select our label box there. Now let's go ahead and right click our comments label here. We're going to go down to align. And we're going to select left, of course. And you can see that now our left edges have been aligned. Let's go ahead and switch to layout view. And you can see we are aligned on the left side of our edges here. Let's go ahead and click on the edge of our subform to select it. And let's drag the right of this till we see that all 6 fields are present using our resize handles. And insurance is almost displayed. And you can see by the white bar here that we do have everything displayed now. Just tweak that a little bit. Okay. So it looks like we've got our subform now aligned properly. We've resized the subform's right edge so that it's aligned with the right edge of the insurance column. I'm going to go ahead and switch to record 16. Since we used this one before, and just make sure that I've got a good size in here for everything. You can see my best fit's not been applied here as I can't see everything in this form. There, now I can see all that field. Adjusted that one. Go ahead and adjust my invoice amount, invoice item, invoice paid, and our insurance field column. Now I'm going to adjust my subform to match that. Now I can see that the subform columns widths have all been adjusted and everything definitely looks a lot better. Go ahead and match up what you've got done with figure 6-38 as well, and it should look similar to what I have created for you as well. So now that we've done that, we'll move on to our next session or section, which will be creating our calculated controls. And here are those 9 steps for adding our calculated controls to our subform in the footer section there. As you can see, it spans a couple pages. But those are steps we're going to complete now. So let's go ahead and switch back to our database and perform all these steps. Let's go ahead and save your form now. And switch to Design View. As you can see, once we switch to design view, we have a couple controls that are active. So let's go ahead and deselect those by just clicking in the empty space area in our detail area. Now let's go ahead and make our subform area active by selecting it by clicking on it and noticing that the orange box has now been highlighted. Now, next what we're going to do is we're going to right click our subform and we're going to go down near the bottom. You can't see it on mine, but you're going to select the Subform in New Window on our shortcut menu. Once you do that, you'll see that you're now working just with your subform, and we have a new tab that was opened up so that we can work with our subform. And this will look just like figure 6-39 that shows our subform in design view. Next, let's go down and we're going to place our pointer at the bottom edge of our form footer here, and we're going to expand it once we see our indicator there with the two arrows. And we're going to take that to about the half-inch mark on our vertical ruler. There we go. Now that we've done that, we're going to add our first calculate control to the form footer section. To create that text box for the calculate control, we're going to use the text box tool in our controls group on the design tab. And because the form footer section is not displayed in a datasheet, you don't need to position the control precisely, okay? So let's go ahead and create that now. Once again, you're going to go into the controls group on our design tab. Once again, go ahead and click more. And we are going to use our text box tool. So as you hover over those, you'll notice that this is our text box. Let's go ahead and click that. Now we're going to position our crosshairs there of our pointer near the top of the form footer section and at about the 1-inch mark on our horizontal ruler. So that should be pretty close. Once you click your left click button of your mouse there, you'll notice that Access placed the text box control and an attached label control to its left in the form section, or the form footer section here. Go ahead and open up your property sheet for the text box in the form footer section. Go ahead and select the value here in our name box, and we're going to change that. We're going to change that to text invoice amount sum. Once you've typed that in, go ahead and press the tab key. And now we're in the control source box here. From our control source, we're going to type in equals sum inv. And you can see as you're typing that the expression starts building. So let's go ahead and put inv. And we want our invoice amount suggestion to take, so we'll go ahead and press the tab key. Go ahead and put your right parenthesis in there. Once you've got that, go ahead and press the tab key again. You should notice now that the invoice amount is enclosed in brackets in the expression because it is a field name that is known. Go ahead and compare now to figure 6-40 in your eText, which is over the setting properties for our subform calculated control. Congratulations, because you've now finished creating your first calculate control. Now we're going to create the other calculate controls. We're going to repeat those steps 3 through 5, positioning our crosshair portion of the pointer near the top of the form footer section and at the 4-inch mark on the horizontal part, or the horizontal ruler. Setting our name property for that one to text invoice num count, and setting the control property value to equals count for our field invoice num. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Go ahead and close our property sheet. Let's add again our text box. We're going to put it at about the 4-inch mark near the top again. Right click, go to properties. Let's change our name from text 15. Go ahead and type in your text invoice num count. Hit tab. Now we're going to put in our property value to equals count. Don't really want that there. Okay, now that we've got our count expression, let's use the invoice num. So start typing that in. And you can see invoice num right here. Select that, then hit tab, and tab again. Now it looks like we're missing a bracket. It's our right parentheses what we're missing. Tab. Now we have created our second control there for our calculated control that we were wanting. Now that we've finished creating our subforms, calculate controls, let's go ahead and close the property sheet and go ahead and save. Now that we have saved our subform changes, go ahead and close the subform. I got a little click happy there. Alright, you'll notice that when we switch to form view of our main form now, the calculate controls we added in the subform's form footer section are not displayed in the subform. Now let's go ahead and switch back to design view. And we'll move into the adding calculate controls to a main form in the detail section. So we'll go ahead and look. Here in our e-text are the 10 steps to add a calculate control to the main form's detail section. So these are the steps we're going to perform now. Let's get back into the design view in our form. Let's go ahead and adjust the length of our detail section here. Let's just go about a ½ inch further down. That should do it there. As you can see, our detail section now, based on our ruler, is now approximately 5½ inches in length. It looks like we could maybe go up just a little bit. There we go. Once again, here on the Design tab in our Controls group, let's click Text Box. And then we're going to add the text box and its attached label into our detail section. We're going to go about the 1-inch mark here. We'll go ahead and add that here on our 1-inch mark just below our subform. Alright, let's go ahead and select the label now, and we're going to open up its property sheet and change that. Go ahead and open up the properties of that now. And let's set the caption for that to number of invoices. Go ahead and hit tab there to apply that. Let's go ahead and right click on the edge of this label box here. We're going to choose size, and we're going to set the size to fit. And you'll notice that that expanded to include all of that text that we just put in for our caption. Yeah, I know that the label now overlaps the text box, but that's okay for now. Let's go ahead and click the text box. And you'll notice that Unbound is displayed inside the text box. Now we're going to click on the control source box in our property sheet for that. So there's our control source. And we are going to click the expand indicator there. I'm sorry, we're going to click the build button, which is right here. You see by clicking the build button we have now opened or launched our expression builder. Now here in the expression elements box, we're going to go ahead and click the expand indicator next to our form for visits and invoices. Once you do that, you'll notice that the billing subform becomes evident, so go ahead and click that. Now in our expression elements box, let's scroll down to the expression categories box. Then we're going to double click the text invoice num count. Once you find that, go ahead and double click that so that it will fill here in our expression builder. You should see that that matches up with figure 6-41. Now, since we know we're making this a calculated control, let's go ahead and hit the home button to go to the beginning of our line there, and let's hit the equal sign. Once you've done that, go ahead and click the OK button. And that closes our expression builder dialog box and sets the control source property now. Now that we've done that, we're going to now add a second text box to the main form where we're going to set the caption property for the label and use the expression builder to set the text box control source property as well. So let's go ahead and do that now. Let's go ahead and click the new box. So you go up here, we've got our text box, click that, come back down into the bottom here of our details area, and we're going to position our pointer to about the 4-inch mark. And we'll put it relatively at the same height. Click there. Now we've created our text control box. We've got our box there selected. We're going to go up here to our property sheet. We're going to change our caption now. We'll go ahead and set our label caption property there. We'll select that. Change that to invoice amount total. Hit tab. Now let's go select our text box there again. Let's go to our control source. Once again, we'll select the build button to open up our expression builder. From here, we're going to go ahead and do the following. Let's go ahead and type our equal sign first this time. Go ahead and look at our subform again. Click our billing subform. Let's scroll down through our expressions categories box here. And this time we are going to select our text invoice amount sum. There we go. We'll double click that. Now it's been added up here. Now that we have our expression built there, let's go ahead and click the OK button to accept our expression. Good job. Now that that's been done, let's go ahead and close the expression builder dialog box, which it did. Let's close our property sheet and save our form change here. Now you've done that, go ahead and switch to form view. Scroll down and you will see that our calculated areas have now been created into our form just below our subform. Let's go ahead and change our select visit to our 1557 again, and you can see our values have changed as well. We have now calculated values for how many invoices there are. As you can see, there are 4 individual invoices, and now we have a sum of our invoices added as well. So now we've seen our efforts have been put to good use there, and we're going to go ahead and now move into the resizing, moving, and formatting calculate control section of this session of the tutorial 6. So as we perform these next group of steps, we're not only going to resize and reposition our 2 calculate controls that we just created and their attached labels, we're also going to need to change the format of the rightmost calculate control to currency and to set several different properties for our calculate controls. We'll look at those steps now over the next couple pages. And you can see our end result here. So let's go ahead and jump back into our database and complete these 11 steps. Let's go back to our layout view now. And we're going to right click the calculated control on the right. Then we're going to click the properties on the shortcut menu. We're going to open up the property sheet. We're going to click the All tab in the property sheet if it's even necessary. Generally it's going to open up that way. And we're going to set our format property to currency. Then we're going to close the property sheet, and we should see that our values are now displayed in the calculated field to go from 262 to having a $sign and a decimal. So we'll go ahead and select this, right click on it, select properties, and we'll change our format here. We will select currency. Let's go ahead and close the property sheet now, and you can see our change has been made as expected to show the currency amount. Now let's go ahead and kind of adjust the width of our 2 calculate controls by dragging the handles either to the left or right border to shrink the text box. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that one over. That looks good. There we go. And you see that way, when we move that one from the right to the left, it brings it closer to our label. But instead of doing that, let's go ahead and put it back to where it was. And let's grab the left side this time and drag it more towards the value. Now we see our label is fully exposed. Let's go ahead and click on our number of invoices label, and we're going to use the arrow keys on your keyboard, and we're going to move that text box and label into a position shown in figure 6-43 in your e-text. And you can see we kind of need to move this to our right a little bit. That way it's not touching the border there. And you can see that our box here is pretty close to being where it needs to be. You can move it to the left a little bit if you want. That definitely, it looks a lot better. Let's go ahead and repeat that for the other one as well. But before we do that, I want to expand our invoice amount total label because we can't see all the text that we had put in our caption. So let's go ahead and make that change there. Now we'll go ahead and we'll move our invoice amount boxes a little bit using our arrows. Just go to the right a little bit here. I'm going to add a little bit of space. Deselect here. I'm going to select calculate box there. I'm going to move it just a little bit to add a little bit more white space. And that looks pretty good. Once your controls have been moved around to kind of look like as close as you can get to figure 6-43, go ahead and switch to design view. Click on the home tab. Let's once again go ahead and minimize our ribbon by double clicking on that. Now we're going to select the number of invoices label, and we can move it around some more. We've kind of already did that, so let's just not even mess with that. Let's go ahead and move on to the next part. Let's select the invoice amount total label. And the calculate control. And we're going to move this. We're going to use the move handles on the calculate control text box. We're going to move it below the number of invoice label and its related text box. And that did not select both. Let's go ahead and go back. Go ahead and move them. There we go. Now we need to adjust our spacing a little bit. So let's go ahead and move that box to the right there. Let's go ahead and do this in our design view, or our layout view, sorry. And it looks like those are aligned pretty good. These two are aligned. And it looks like we need some more white space below here. So let's go ahead and adjust that. Go into our design view. And even though it said 5.5 earlier, let's go ahead and take that down to 6. And we'll go back in and see how that looks in our layout view. There we go, it looks a lot better. And that definitely looks a lot closer to what we're seeing in figure 6-44. Okay, well, we select our visit to 1557 again, and we're going to stay in layout view. Let's go ahead and select our bottom calculate control. We're going to right click on it and select property. Then let's go ahead and click on the other tab here. We're going to set the tab stop property to no. Go ahead and do that now. And then we're going to set our control tip text property to calculate invoice total for this patient visit. So let's go ahead and go to control tip text. Go ahead and enter that text in there now. Go and hit tab so that information is kept there. Now let's close our property sheet. Save our changes. And then let's switch to our form view and make sure we have our record 1557 selected again. Let's go ahead and click our number of invoices text box. My apologies, I skipped a step. Let's go ahead and go back in to our layout view. Let's right click on that one. Go to properties. And let's set our tip for that one as well. We'll select our tab stop to no. And put our control tip in here for our number of invoices. We'll hit tab to save that. And we will go back down into our invoice amount total one. Go to properties. And this one should say calculate invoice total for the patient visit. Go ahead and hit tab to save that. Go ahead and close our property sheet and save once again. Now let's go back into our form view. Click down here. And you can see as you hover over that, the tip comes evident. Click the invoice amount total. We'll hover over that. And there is our tip being displayed as expected. So if you see your screen tips, great job guys. Now we're going to move on to our next section, which is changing the tab order in our form. Let's go ahead and do that, and we'll go to our e-text and look at our steps for testing the calculate controls and modifying the tab order. Here are the steps we're going to be performing to testing the calculate controls and modifying the tab order. As you can see, that spans over a couple pages. So let's hop right back in and get this step completed. Okay, let's test our calculate control now. We're going to go ahead and go into our number of invoices here. We're going to select that. We're going to try changing that value to 8. And you can see we automatically get a message that says control cannot be edited. It's bound to the expression and lists that expression. The calculate control in our main form changes in value only when the value of the expression changes in the subform. So now let's click on the invoice amount total text box and let's type in an 8. Once again, we get the message prompting us that we cannot edit a calculate control. So next let's go ahead and select the value in the visit ID text box. And press tab. That will get us to the visit date text box, and we're going to press the tab key 5 more times to advance to the reason text box. I got a little click happy. And all we're really showing here is that as we hit the tab button, that will advance to the next control based on the order that we created initially when we created our form. So we always want to check our tab order when we create a custom form in our layout and design view. What this will do is this will reveal to the user that you tab through the field value box in the main form before tabbing through the fields in the subform. If this gets mixed up and you've created changes and you have someone doing data entry, if they get used to it and don't know you made changes and they start putting in their data, they could really mess up some of these fields. Let's go ahead and double click the Home tab here to maximize our ribbon. Then we're going to switch to Design View. Now that we're in Design View, we're going to go ahead and go into the Tools group. We're going to click Tab Order, as you see here. And our Tab Order dialog box opens up. Click on Detail here. Now, since we didn't set a name property for the combo box control and calculate controls, Access assigns some names for us. You'll see Combo 6 and Patient ID probably. Let's see. We've got our Combo 6 here. That was for our Patient ID. And then we have some other boxes down there, like 18 and 20. Your numbers may be different, but those are representing our number of invoices, calculate control, and our invoice amount total calculate control. Now what we need to do here is we're going to move our Combo 6 entry above the visit ID. So let's click our row selector here. And we are going to drag the row selector above the visit ID entry. Once you've done that, go ahead and repeat those steps, as we want to also move our walk-in above the visit date. So based on what detects and essentially what our customer wanted, we've got our rows now in the correct order. Let's go ahead and click OK. Let's go ahead and now save our form design changes, and we're going to switch to Form View. And then we're going to tab through our controls in our main form to make sure the tab order is correct. So we have our Combo 6, which, as we described earlier, is for our Patient ID combo. We'll tab through those and make sure that it then goes through the order listed in the book. Visit ID, walk-in, data visit, reason, comments, and our subform. And we should go down to, yep, everything looks good. So let's go on into the next section of improving our form's appearance. And we're going to start out with adding a line to our form. As you can see, here are the steps for adding our line to our form. We'll go ahead and complete those now. First thing we need to do is switch to Design View once again. We're going to drag the bottom of our form header section here down to about the 1-inch mark on our vertical line ruler here. So we can see our 1-inch mark there. Let's go back up and align our lines. There we go. Now by doing that, we've made enough room that we should be able to draw a horizontal line at the bottom of the form header section. So let's go ahead and go in the Design tab in the Controls group. And once you're in the Controls group there, we're going to go ahead and click the More button again to open our Controls gallery. Once you have the gallery open there, we are going to then click on the Line tool. Go ahead and click that now. And now I want you to position the pointer at the edge of the form header section just below the title. And I know that might be a little tricky. Now that you're in position, go ahead and hold down your Shift key and drag that horizontal line from the left side to the right so that you end at about the 6-inch mark on the vertical ruler. Let's go ahead and do that now. Let's see, 6-inch. Now you see that we have that line. It's up a little bit high, so I'm going to need to move it. And once again, we can just use our arrow keys to drop that down. Go ahead and save your change now. Now that we've created a line, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add a triangle to the form using the same type steps. We're going to go into the Design tab in our Controls group. We're going to click the More button, and then we're going to select the Rectangle tool. Let's go ahead and deselect that. Alright, let's go ahead and we're going to go up here. Now we're going to select the Rectangle tool. And we're going to position this to about 2 grid dots above and 2 grid dots to the left of the number of invoices label. So let's go up here. We don't really have that much room there, but let's just kind of put it on the line here so that we can create our box. So we're about 2 grid dots. That's about right. And we're going to drag your rectangle down and to the right until all 4 sides are approximately 2 grid dots around our labels there. Go down a little bit more. There we go. And then release that. And kind of compare yours to figure 6-49 in your eText. Now that we've created that, let's go ahead and click on the Format tab with that highlighted, and we're going to set the thickness of our rectangle line. So in the Control Formatting group here, we're going to click the Shape Outline arrow, and we're going to point to Line Thickness down here. And we're going to then click the line with the screen tip that will pop up as you hover over it of 1 point. It should be about the second one from the top. There you go. So go ahead and select that. Now we're going to deselect the control. And we're going to move to the next section, which is modifying the visual effects of the controls in our form. Now hold your excitement, but we are at the end of session 6.3 for tutorial 6. So we're going to be modifying the controls in our form, and we have approximately a dozen steps we're going to complete here. You can see these below and on the next page. And once we complete these steps, we will conclude session 6.3. Let's go ahead and jump back into our database and apply these changes now. While we're still here in Design View, we're going to select the Number of Invoices label and the Invoice Amount Total label, using the Shift key once again to select these multiple controls. Let's go up to our Format tab again. Then we're going to go into the Fonts group, and we're going to change our font color. So we're going to use the Font Color button arrow. Go ahead and click that and see our palette there. We are going to click the blue color, which is about row 7, column 8 on our standard colors palette. Light blue and blue. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and then in the Format tab in the Font group, we're going to click the bold button here. And you can see those changes get made immediately as soon as we make a selection. Now, this next part, we're going to go ahead and set properties for the Select Visit label in the form header section. So let's go ahead and select the Select Visit label. Click that there. And in the form header section, set the label's font to red. So we're going to go up here and we are going to select red. And you can see our text has now become visibly changed to red. And then we're going to set the font style in it to bold as well. Now let's go ahead and set the label's special effect property to a shadow effect. So let's go ahead and open up the property sheet for our label here. Let's click on the All tab. Go down to the special effect. Let's select that. Let's drop down and we are going to pick shadowed. Now our label has a shadowed special effect and the label's caption now uses a bold red font. So now that we've done that, let's set the special effect property for the bow control label to a sunken effect. So let's go ahead and select the Visit ID text box, the Visit Date box, sorry about that, Data Visit box, and select the wrong ones, there we go. The reason and the comments text boxes here. And we will set their special effects as well. We're going to change those to sunken. And then now we're going to deselect our controls. Now let's go ahead and set the background color of the form header section, the detail section, the combo box, and the two calculate controls. And we're going to be using the background color button in the font group on the design tab to do these. Let's go ahead and click in the form header section bar. And we're going to go up to the Format tab, Font Group. Let's select our background color here. And we're going to select our background color to be light blue 2 color. It's roughly row 3, column 5. To light blue 2, there you go. And we're going to select that. Now if I go ahead and take that back, you can see it's a little bit more gray. Then I add a little bit blue. It's very slight, but it is there. Now we're going to click the detail section bar. And we're going to set that background color to light blue 2 as well. And you can see that change has been made as well. Now let's go ahead and select the Select Visit combo box. We're going to select the Number of Invoices text box. And the Invoice Amount Total text box. And we're going to change the background color to light blue 2 as well. Now let's deselect everything. We're going to switch to Form View now, and we're going to click the Visit ID text box. And that selects the first value for 1527. The Session 6.3 Visual Overview shows the completed form, which I showed you at the beginning of this session. I don't like the way this looks. Those need to be the same background color as well. So let's go ahead and switch back to Design View. Scroll down to those. Select them. And we will change them as well in our Format tab. Since we've already used the light blue, we don't have to drop the palette down every time. Since we used it last, it's still there. So let's go ahead and save our changes. We'll go back in to our form view. And now that background matches as well. Hopefully you can see from the changes we've made from where we started and where we're at now that we definitely improved the overall appearance, and that you enjoyed using the new tools and creating those calculated controls inside the form. Now it's definitely a lot more user-friendly for whoever's doing our data entry. So guys, good job on tutorial 6. That will conclude that, and we will pick up next week with our next tutorial.